Today we're going to have another lesson, and this is another literary device. Specifically, today we're going to study persona in poetry. All right. What's unique about poetry is that usually a poetry is one long um, compilation of stanzas and verses, right? So there's usually one speaker, one narrator, one persona in poetry. Now, what is a persona? A persona pertains to the voice or assumed role of a character in a literary work. The speaker serves as the mouthpiece of the writer's thoughts and insights and reflections. Most of the time, the persona is identified with the writer. Usually, we assume that whoever is writing the poetry is using the poetry as the mouthpiece as a tool to tell his reflections in life. Often, that's true. Sometimes, like for example, Maya Angelou in her poetry talks about the experiences that she has had. But often, this is not true. I also want you to understand that sometimes a persona, or most often than not, a persona in a poetry is a fictional creation, a separate entity that the writer uses to explore a particular perspective or experience. So, for example, in the poetry that I've written, not all of them are experiences of Miss Herbel. Some of them are experiences of other people. Some of them are experiences of the people that I encounter. And I am vicariously putting myself in their shoes. Um, if we understood persona to be like that, it allows us to understand the separation between the writer and the topic of the poetry. It also allows the writer to explore topics that might be taboo or that might be sensitive and bring it to light so that it can be talked about, right? Hence, it is possible that a straight person could write about the experiences of someone from the LGBTQ community, right? Or someone from LGBTQ community could write the experiences of a straight person, right? Of a heterosexual person. And that's possible, right? So don't always assume that whoever is speaking in the poetry, that is the writer. It is most often not true. All right? I want you to remember that distinction. Now, so you would know that I have an example. So we have here the example of T.S. Eliot, and the title of the poetry is The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. Let's read it. Let us go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized upon the table. Let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the methering retreats of restless nights and one-night cheap hotels. The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. Definitely, we could assume that perhaps a part of T.S. Eliot is in J. Alfred Prufrock, the assumed speaker, the assumed persona in this poetry. But obviously, this, we could safely assume, is not exactly T.S. Eliot. J. Alfred Prufrock is a totally separate fictional character, right? And when we look at the persona, J. Alfred Prufrock, and the way J. Alfred Prufrock has been described in this poetry, it seems like in this poetry, the persona is being conveyed as someone who is a tempter, a seducer, inviting the listener to join him or her on a one-night stand, right? A tempter. The person is a flirt, a seducer, right? When my students read this, um, they felt a bit off when they were reading it. Um, Precisely because the writer T.S. Eliot is exploring a taboo topic at this point. Um, he's writing about physical intimacy and celebrating physical intimacy, right? And to a certain extent, J. Alfred Prufrock is being conveyed as a cheap person, a tempter, but rather cheap, right? So here, the persona, the speaker, might not be the poet, but a totally fictional character, right? Someone who is a tempter, a seducer. Okay, let's try another one, and this time still in the topic, theme of love. All right. This one is by famous spoken word poets Sarah Kay and Phil Kay. The title is When Love Arrives. Let's read it. I knew exactly. I made a mistake. Okay, one more time. I knew exactly what love looked like in 7th grade, even though I hadn't met love yet. If love had wandered into my homeroom, I would have recognized him at first glance. Love wore a hemp necklace. I would have recognized her at first glance. Love wore a tight French braid. That's me assuming the voice of the man. So obviously, what's unique about this poetry is that you have two speakers, right? You have a man and a woman, and this is a conversation, right? This is a conversation. So you have two speakers, and to a certain extent, we can assume that the woman is Sarah Kay and the man is Phil Kay. But love is a universal feeling. And the feeling of the personas could be the experience of common girls and boys, right? And so to a certain extent, the personas are not Sarah Kay and Phil Kay, but common man and woman, all right? And in this poetry, both of the personas are being conveyed as someone who are new and naive in love, right? Both of them have just learned what love looked like, right? Puppy love. And then they eventually learned that love is complex and complicated, as we have seen in the previous poetry. All right? So that's persona. A persona is a fictional character that the speaker assumes. And it becomes the persona becomes and serves as the mouthpiece of the writer's thoughts and insights. The persona is not always the writer. All right? I want you to remember that. And here are the references that I use. And if you want to know more about the persona, visit this website. All right? So that is what persona is. A persona specifically in poetry. All right, I hope that had helped you. All right, I hope that had make you understand and make you separate the artist from the artist's work, because the artist's work has a character, right? Has a life of its own, and the speaker, that persona, has a personality, has a life, has an experience that might be totally different from the experience of the writer. All right? So I hope that has helped you. Again, I am Herbal Santiago. I'm a writer. I'm a teacher. And if you want to read more of my works, please visit herbalsantiagomanonila.wordpress.com. Hit the subscribe button for more video lessons. and click the notification bell so you would be updated of the latest videos that I will be uploading. That's it. Have a good day ahead of you. Bye.